BLIX network, we share learnings from experienced leaders through knowledge exchange to benefit future leaders just like you. And we do that through knowledge exchange talks, just like this one, and through mentoring sessions that are one-on-one with our BLIX advisors. So we could not have arrived where we are today without a wonderful leadership team. And knowledge exchange is what makes us grow as a team, and we work very hard to offer you an environment where you can grow your skill set and develop your knowledge. So as Carol said previously, I'm gonna make sure that everyone runs smoothly, that we're on time. And right now he's gonna open up the event by telling us why mentorship matters and how we offer it at BLIX. So thank you very much, and passing it on to you, Carl.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maria. And thank you everybody for joining. It's amazing to see such a large turnout. I thought what I'd do is I'd kind of set the scene about why BLIX and why mentorship. And really it starts about 7 months ago. Two big changes in the world last year and this year. One was the pandemic, the other was George Floyd. And I think we all saw the physical manifestation even of systemic racism for 8 minutes and 46 grueling seconds. I think this was a moment where everybody said, we can no longer look away. There's aspects that we can change across our lives, and we need to come together. What we did is we worked with some of the people I've worked with in my previous roles, and said, we want to come together to make change through mentorship. And we can do this simply by bringing a platform of people who have purpose, who have drive to connect and share knowledge with the next generation. And really the mantra that drives this is that if we open a door for diverse candidates, they will open the door for others, and so change happens. It won't be overnight, but it will help. And for these diverse candidates, we don't only want to invite them to the party, we want to give them a role at the table. So diversity being the invitation to the party, but that's not enough. We need inclusion and adding to the playlist and agenda. Just on the last slide, just to close that out, it's a little known fact that George Floyd himself was actually a mentor. So before he went to Minneapolis and his untimely death, he was a mentor for disadvantaged at-risk youth. His life had purpose, his life mattered. Next slide. So where are we now? Where we are now is we have around 107 different mentoring sessions taking place. So that's growing every day, every week. So this is where our mentors make time for mentees to ask questions, give them advice, to coach them. We have 175 members growing every day, and we have done 6 knowledge exchange talks. So similar to TED style talks where we've had expert speakers talk on topics from mental health to racial bias in AI, to the importance of inclusive leadership, and many other areas of business, inclusion, and leadership. So the numbers really speak for themselves. A mentor is 6 times more likely to be promoted. So why is that? Well, as a mentor, you develop skills in active listening, in leadership, in communication, and organization skills. You have to be a coach, and you have to truly understand challenges for people and help them grow. For a mentee, they're 5 times more likely to be promoted, according to this research from Forbes. So why is that? Well, as a mentee, you get guidance, you present your challenges, you get advice from senior leaders who've taken that path before you, and they impart their knowledge so that you can take the shortest path to success. Next slide. So mentorship is really about moving from this comfort zone into your growth zone. I remember at Google, we used to talk about being uncomfortably excited. If you're not uncomfortably excited, you're not growing. Successful people are those who are willing to take harsh feedback, fail, not be successful, but take every opportunity as a learning opportunity and ultimately grow. And we're hoping to present and provide that opportunity to members of the BLIX network. And we've got some great success stories that we'll share with you later on today of some successful mentees that came through the program and went on to start new businesses or change careers or get promoted. So statistics inform, but stories really inspire. And I want to share this story with you. First, I'll start with a quote. So it says, when you're deciding on next steps, next job, next career, further education, you should rather find purpose than job or career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you're on the planet at any particular time in history. So the person who wrote this quote, he grew up in a disadvantaged background, working class family. He was from an underprivileged family as well. He didn't have the opportunities, but he had potential and he had drive. And mentors saw that in him, and they invested their time and energy to help him grow. They even invested him to go to the leading school for his profession, where he trained and ultimately became a leading actor. You may recognize him from movies like Black Panther, where he starred King T'Challa. And this man is Chadwick Boseman. His mentor was of many, Denzel Washington, who really saw his potential and invested in him. But for Chadwick, his life was about giving back. So how can he pay it forward? So even in his final weeks and years and days, he invested his time to visit people with cancer in hospital. He invested his time as a mentor. He gave a large portion of his wealth to help people suffering from COVID. And in almost a poetic ending, his final tweet, his final communication to the world was congratulating the first ever non-male, non-white VP, Kamala Harris. So we always say we don't have time. We're busy. There's so many things going on. I think the Chadwick story teaches us that everybody's busy, but purpose is one of the most important things, and it's an opportunity to make a difference. Next slide. So I'm borrowing this concept from Japan. It's the idea of ikigai. So it's the intersection of passion, mission, profession, and vocation. And that's really what we're trying to offer at BLIX. We say to give more is to grow more and ultimately to be more. And if we can take people working in their professional careers, but give them mission, passion, and vocation, this is where they individually will find purpose, but they'll also have an impact as well. So hopefully you can come and join us and be part of our network. So with that, let me pass it back to Maria, and she's going to introduce our mentees.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Carol, for sharing that. Sorry about this. So perfect. So now we're going to go on to our mentees panel. We're going to have 3 mentees that are going to share their experience with mentorship at BLIX. So these 3 mentees are Edima Inyang, Jamna El Sayed, and myself. So as a small introduction of mentees, Edima has been a mentee for over 8 months now, and she had over 10 mentoring sessions. Also, she joined BLIX as a team leader in October 2020. Jamna, she joined BLIX as mentee and as a team leader as well in September 2020 when it was all starting, and she had also around 10 mentoring sessions. For myself, I joined BLIX thanks to Jamna as well in September 2020 and had over 10 mentoring sessions. And that is why today we're going to share our experience. And for that, I'm going to pass on back to Carl, who is going to lead this part. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maria. And great to have our superstars back. I've been fortunate enough to work very closely with you building out BLIX, and you guys have had an amazing impact in getting us to where we are today. But I've got a few questions for you, and I think it'd be really useful for the audience to understand the impact that mentorship has had on you. So the first one is, why did you want mentorship in the first place? And let's go in alphabetical order. So Edima, can you start, please? I think you might be on mute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yes. For me, I wanted mentorship because personally, I didn't want to live a mediocre life, both professionally and also in my other adventures. But then the realization of me being intentional about mentorship came after I read Nelson Mandela's autobiography, A Long Walk to Freedom. I'd realized that as a young lawyer in Johannesburg, South Africa, arguably Nelson Mandela was doing all right. You know, he had his own practice, he was highly educated, but then his life changed for the better after he met a mentor of his called Mr. Walter Sisulu. Mr. Walter was the person who identified, should I say, recognized the leadership potential that Nelson Mandela had. You know, and Mr. Walter took Nelson Mandela under his wings, developed his political esteem and also his leadership style. And again, I don't need to tell you the story of Nelson Mandela because you already know that he became the first Black president in South Africa, and also he had a very great impact in the movement against apartheid regime in South Africa. So for me, well, that's a long way of trying to say that I wanted someone who I could be accountable to, you know, in terms of like the results that I was delivering. You know, sometimes you set a goal, you know, and you want to achieve something, but then you don't push yourself hard enough, you know, to get from to deliver at 100%, you know. So, but with a mentor, with somebody who is there to check you out, would challenge you. You can do more, you can push more, you can deliver more. So that's why I wanted mentorship.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing the story of Nelson Mandela. Brilliant. In alphabetical order, we pass over to Maria next.
Yes, thank you very much, Carol. So, why mentorship? So, I came in the UK about a year and a half ago, and as a young student, I'm still figuring out what I want to do later as a professional career and as an individual as well. And I also discovered in the UK the importance of networking and communication skills. And so mentorship came to me as the perfect format, the perfect place where I can learn insights in different and various industries, and also learn to actually network with people who might be intimidating by the fact that they are in high places in corporations, and it's just a really good opportunity to learn, and that's why I started mentorship.
Brilliant. Thank you for that story, Maria. And I think it's really interesting that you say initially this can be intimidating. And I think that's sometimes a challenge. People think, oh, mentorship, oh, I don't know what to do. And hopefully we're helping to break down those barriers. So thank you for that. Yomna.
Yes.
Great to hear from you.
Perfect. So for me, since I was actually like in a very young age, I was always picky to choose my friends because I always believe that you are who you surround yourself with. But at the same time, your friends sometimes make you hear what you want to hear. And family-wise, they love you so much that sometimes they think that this is the right thing for you. But when mentorship, it was a different perspective to me. It was more you choose your mentor, but at the same time, a mentor is not going to be biased to some extent if it's the right mentor, and is going to challenge you. So it's not going to, he or she is not going to make you to hear what you want to hear. It's more like, look, these are the options. And this is, they make you cautious of so many things that sometimes because we are so attached to something, we tend not to see the full picture of it. So for me, mentorship, since a very young age, I was curious about it. I was always friends of my dad's friends, just because the experience as well. So looking at someone, you learn from their mistakes. So I always wanted to start, but I didn't know from where to start. I knew that it's powerful. I didn't know it's called mentorship. I didn't know the terminology for that. But I think, yeah, for me, mentorship falls under two main reasons. One, to challenge you and to really unleash your potential and what you're capable of doing as any human being. And second is really to look at someone who's went through something that you aspire to be. So I'd say this is for me, really.
Great, thank you for that, Yomna. And it's interesting you say mentorship. You didn't actually know that was the concept that you were actually looking for. And I think that's the challenge for some people. They think, oh, I know mentorship, but isn't that like a 12-month program? And where do I even start? So making it more accessible definitely helps. And it's interesting the point you made on selecting your friends. I think that's why we're all still waiting for you to accept our friend requests. So when you get a chance, do that. Great, thank you for that. So we'll move on to the next question. So we kind of touched on it a little bit when you're talking about why you wanted mentorship, but why BLIX, and how is that being more accessible for you? And let's go in reverse order. Let's start with Yamna again.
So why BLIX? One is because I knew it was made for the right reason, as in I was really inspired by Carol when I first heard his story of why he wanted to do this. So I knew that what BLIX will offer is something real. It's not like any other, promoting mentorship program, because at the end of the day, it's for X reason. So BLIX, I would say, also for its not commitment. There is no commitment out there that you're obligated to follow. There's no long-term commitment with someone in 6 months. Like 6 months based on what? Maybe you would need to continue for more than a year. Maybe you just did not match that person and you don't want it again. So I think you're not restricted. You and your mentor, it's a relationship you built since day one. And by having this with BLIX, I found that, okay, I have so many mentors from different backgrounds, so many mentors with different stories, so many diverse industries. And it's up to me and up to the mentor to see if this works for them. And if it does, good. If it doesn't, it's a learning at the end of the day. And you learn something about you and what you want. So I'd say these mainly
Brilliant,
the two main
great.
reasons.
And thank you for that, Yamna. Really appreciate that. I think you illustrate a really important point, and that's ownership. It's up to you. And if it's not working, it's up to you. And if you want a different mentor, it's up to you. And making it more accessible, but you owning your destiny. If you wait there and say, I'd love to have a mentor, and hopefully one day a mentor comes and finds me, it's not going to happen. You need to take that action. So thank you for that. I think that's a great point. And Maria, over to you.
Yes, thank you. So I would say the reason why I'm doing mentorship at BLIX, more than being a part of it, it's also because I love how accessible it is. And I also like the presentation of advisors. So as I said, it's intimidating to meet with someone you don't know and who is high in their professional careers. And I think the platform at BLIX really offers a broad explanation of who they are, what they're doing. And so it really helps you understand, okay, who do I want to meet with? Who could actually give me good insights into what I want to learn? So the guidance of the platform really helps to get the best experience in mentoring. That's what I would say.
Great, thanks for that, Maria. I think we all need to take a look at ourselves. Apparently we're very intimidating, so we probably need to work on our profile pictures or something like that. That's great, thanks, Maria. And then over to you, Edema.
For me, BLIX is free. That's number one. Yeah, so I'm a Nigerian. I like a good bargain. But anyway, on a serious note here, the diversity in terms of like the mentors that we have, the knowledge base as well, that is what attracted me to BLIX. And for me, I was at the point where I wanted to make a career change. So I felt, okay, I don't just want to make a decision based on where I feel should be my next step, but then if I'm able to speak to successful leaders who I could see their current leadership position or the career path that they've taken, then I would know what best works for me. What I'm trying to say is that on BLIX Network, with the mentors, you don't get a textbook knowledge. You get a practical insight as to the best possible routes that you can take to achieve your goals. So that's one for me. That's what attracted me to BLIX. And again, the accessibility is very easy to connect to the mentor. The mentors are very open and very willing to share. And that's something that it's kind of hard to find anywhere else. Even where mentors are being paid, the openness and the willingness is not there. But on BLIX network, I find that I can get into a section and think, okay, this is the value I'm going to get from this mentor. But then I get something totally different. I was like, oh, wow, that's what more than, what I came to get. So yeah, so that's why.
That's great. So it's the openness, the accessibility, and it's free, which was an important point. That's great. Thanks for that, Edema. So another key point is that the three of you have been instrumental in getting us to where we are today. Without you, this wouldn't be where it is. So thank you so much. I've worked pretty closely with each of you, helping to build this, and I've seen your development. But it'd be good just to understand what impact has being mentored as well as being coached as part of the leadership team had on your personal development. And let's start with Edema again.
For me, BLIX has given me the opportunity to impact in terms of the mantra you started with: give more, grow more, and be more. So as I'm on the team, I'm able to use my skills, to impact the sort of change I want to see in the world, which I'm a strong believer that if you want to see any change in any area in the world, you just cannot sit back and talk about the change and expect other people to act on it. Like, you have to take actions with what you believe is best, right? Or what you think is going to actually yield the change that you want to see. So for me, the misrepresentation of the Black people, it's something that I'm very passionate about to change, and also women leadership. And on BLIX, I get to have that opportunity to impact change in the world. So that's one. Two, growing more. Personally, I write, but then my writing, I've never left the confines of my notepad. So, but on BLIX now, I get to write, and also my interpersonal and communication skills have improved massively. So I have, should I say, I have grown to confidently do things I am uncomfortable with in short term. So yeah.
Great, excellent. And I think there was an important message there about proactivity. A lot of people scream at the internet and say, this is outrageous, I'm angry. But the only way to make change is to take action. And you definitely demonstrated that. And as said, I've seen amazing growth. And I think you make a really important point that if you want to develop and build those skills, just like swimming, you can't read about it, you got to get into the pool. It's been great to see the impact you have. Just another plug, Edema has done some great articles on the website, so go and check them out. They're no longer just in a notepad. Great. Over to Maria next. Can you share what impact it's had on your growth, Maria?
Yes, sure. So I think that BLIX had a mixed impact, with me being busy and a team member. And definitely I would say it's raised my communication skills and confidence also, by reaching out to the speakers, to potential speakers for potential events, and also taking the courage to actually go to advisory sessions and ask what I wanted. And also taking a point that Edema gave for proactivity, because having responsibility to build something, you really have to be proactive, because you can't just wait for people to tell you what to do. And that's something I definitely developed with BLIX, as well as a problem solving skills. So it really developed a lot of skills that I'm now using for BLIX, but also for my studies and also my personal life. So
that's great. That's great to hear, Maria. And big thank you to you. This event and all the events wouldn't have happened without you. And you've done an amazing job. So many things you need to make sure are spinning at the same time in order to deliver that. So thank you for that feedback. And over to you, Yomna.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carl. The first one is mainly specific, but I'd say ego. I think one of the main thing it really played is ego, because sometimes ego comes in the way of your growth, especially when you're someone who's confident and you really trust when you make a decision. But when someone comes and tell you, no, you go like, wait, wait, what? So I think really being aware that a no is not a personal no, a no is a way to redirect you. And I think the times I heard the no, or you know, rethink or the advice, I think I was like, okay, I need to, I always train my mind as much intelligence to really, really refocus my mindset when you get no's. And because one main thing in BLIX, you see these professional people, and this goes back to my second point, which is the last point I want to mention, is when you grow, you become more noticed, you have more money. This can either really make you greedy, as in it makes you, you know, showing off, and it can lead to, you know, you forget your origin. But these people who giving their time for free to grow, to make, to unleash your power, and they're doing it, and then you go and reflect, you go like, okay, I really want to give back to these people one day. So and their no is not a no because they hate you. Their no is a no because they care. So I think it had a lot in my personal growth, and I always had this reflection session after each session, because I can see how powerful this is, and also, i.e., my professional growth, because in the professional life, you can't grow if you don't grow personally. So I think it's a two-way thing, and it's something that I'll always feel very valuable to have and to come across it. So thanks for the Black
Fantastic.
team and for Carol to make it all happen.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Yamna. And you're the OG. You're the original team captain that made this happen. So I think it's a great point that you made on getting feedback. Nobody likes negative feedback, but it's always, it needs to be viewed with a constructive lens. It's an opportunity to see those blind spots that you may not have yourself. And a lot of people don't like that. They find it uncomfortable and it's not for them. But the people who take that feedback on board, it's an opportunity to develop their skills. Brilliant. Thanks so much for that. I'm going to pass back to Maria, and she's going to introduce the next section. But thank you again for those great insights.
Great. Thank you very much, Carl. So now the next part is going to be sharing some success stories from our other mentees who could not be here today, and Edma is going to present them. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Edma.
Thank you so much, Maria. So this segment, I am going to share some of the success stories that we've had here on BLIX. We call it BLIX experience. The importance of mentorship is something that is echoed by a lot of successful leaders, from the likes of Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, to Mark Zuckerberg, and Buzoma St. John. What BLIX advisors are really hoping to achieve is to increase your chances of success in your career and in your personal growth. Due to time constraints, I'm going to share just one story, and this is a story that I'm very, very delighted to share. It's from one of our team leader, Jamila. She owns the D&I communication domain. So in Jamila's word, right, she found out about BLIX through being a participant on Coloring Text immersion program, which led her to attend one of our knowledge exchange events, just like the one we're having today, where I think Lumina was sharing on emotional intelligence and how we can apply that in our personal life. So that inspired Jamila to come on board to join the team. And from there, she'd receive weekly coaching from Carl. And also she attended a couple of sections with one of our mentors who provides support on CV and interview preparation. In Jamila's words, she said, I wholeheartedly believe that Amy's support was integral in securing my first graduate job. I recommend having even just one advisory section with a BLIX advisor, because you will learn more about yourself and benefit from the priceless knowledge and experiences that advisors are eager to share. For me, what is very fascinating about Jamila's story is that in her current role as a CSR assistant, she will be using the skills that she learned on BLIX in her everyday responsibilities. So that meant that BLIX was a development ground for her, and that's something that we are hoping that you can do as well on BLIX. You can get mentoring from our advisors, and at the same time as well, you can come on board and join the team and develop your skills in any areas that you would like. So thank you so much, our mentors, for your positive impact, and enjoy the rest of the event, guys. I'll hand over to Maria now.
Great. Thank you very much, Edema, for sharing that. It was really insightful. And so now, as we're conscious of time and it's half past the event, now that we've heard great insights from the perspective of mentees, now we're going to hear them from this perspective of some of our mentors. So today we have 3 BLIX advisors. There is Lubna Wortley. I'm going to quickly introduce them. Lubna is the Amazon Web Services lead at the EMEA at Intel Corp. She has a lot of experience in marketing and business within tech, and she is also very interested in emotional intelligence. And she did actually a talk on BLIX about 6 months ago on this, which was really great. Then second mentor, we have Gökçe Alkadagli. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it well. He is working at Ericsson Sweden as a service portfolio director and operations engine ambassador. He is also very involved in entrepreneurship. And finally, we also have Mike Bugembi. He's a best-selling author, an international speaker in data analytics and AI, and he's also the founder of a company named Lens AI. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here with us today. And I'm gonna pass it on now to Carl, who's gonna lead this panel.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maria. And really great to have 3 exceptional leaders that I can call friends as well. Not only amazing leaders who have been super successful, extremely humble, and always willing to give back. So it's a great opportunity to interview you 3. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how has being mentored played a role in your personal development? And let's go ladies first. Let's start with you, Lubna.
So do you want me to answer your question or the one that I can see on the screen? Because I could do both.
In the interest of time, let's go for the one I just asked there.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, it was funny because hearing the testimonials from Edema, from Yomna, and from Maria, it feels like I could hear myself, many years back. So that was actually really nice. And for me, being mentored actually developed me at so many levels. So usually when we think about mentorship, we think about career, we think about professional life. But I think this is something that Yomna as well mentioned. For me, it really started as an individual, how it shaped my personality. So the first thing is, the big jump that I had while working with a mentor was to build my self-confidence to start my career in sales. I've always wanted to be in sales. I love working with different people, develop my interpersonal skills, grew up with 7 kids, siblings, so big family. And I was very scared to do that jump from marketing to sales. And it's actually, working with that mentor that, helped me, challenge me, going back to what Edema was saying as well early on. The other element as well is that when you start your career, you kind of being very passive and just living it, while entering into a mentorship program, and not even program, but just sessions, could be a couple of sessions, really help you be more proactive, step back, build a plan, understand where you want to go, and build the purpose that you were mentioning, Carol, at the beginning. So I think, being mentored helped me both at a personal life, when I was starting young as a woman, but also, as an entrepreneur, and in my career within the tech industry as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for that, Lubna. And please check out Lubna's emotional intelligence talk. It's a powerful session. It's on the website. Thank you for that, Lubna. So next, let's move to Sweden. We've got Gökçe dialing in from there. So Gökçe, same question to you.
Well, very much actually similar to what Lubna said. For me, it was actually very important to reflect on where we are in where I am in life, and you can think about it professionally, and at the same time, it's very important to think about your priorities and what you're focusing on. And you can have your friends actually, that meaningful exchanges with your friends, but when it's actually much more focused with the person who is actually able to listen and reflect on their experience, and help you about setting your, first of all, understand your real expectations underneath, and help you set your priorities straight, and also help you look from a different perspective on the reality that you are. For me, it helped me a lot in the early stages of my career, and I found out that it's not just having one person in, one mentor in your life, maybe having two, and also trying to look out the exchanges that you have with people as sessions of kind of small mentorship sessions. For instance, I remember myself about 15 years back, no, actually 12 years back, to be very precise, where I was actually in a cornerstone of my career and needed to make a choice. And I remember having a session with Rima Qureshi, who was my vice president then. Right now, she is actually running AT&T. He's the chief strategy officer there. Sorry, not AT&T, Verizon. And we just did a conversation at dinner. And time to time, I was actually passing by our office and having just small conversations. And just remembering just one small talk I had with her about where should I navigate next, and her sharing her options and sharing that with me helped me understand what should I be doing. She didn't tell me what I should do. She was also in a cornerstone in her life on what to do next, and just having that meaningful exchange impacted my life. And then I found, okay, this is something I would like to have regular basis with people that I can trust. So I see it as a mirror in your life that you actually reflect on, meaningful exchanges regarding your personal career, and also professional career, and also personal too. Being able to set your priorities, see your options, and where to navigate first.
Great.
So
excellent.
it helped me a lot.
Thank you, gotcha. And I think you bring up a really important point. Again, demystifying this knowledge or misconception that mentorship needs to be a long program and you need to engage for a long time. I think what you said there is that single conversation at dinner changed the course of your life, and you still reflect on it 12 years later. And that's exactly it, right? So mentorship isn't about this long protracted process. It's actually having conversations with, the other point you mentioned, as many people as possible. So I think that's a great message to mentees. And over to you, Mike.
Hey, Carol, thanks for this, by the way. So yeah, I think for me, I'm going to echo a lot of what everybody said. For me, I don't actually have, or I've never had a formal mentor. But I've had several people in a network, if you like, of individuals that I used to speak to. And I think that's quite key. That was quite key for me because you get different perspectives, right? I think in the world that we live in, we're at least beginning to able to understand how a diversity of individuals and a diversity of perspectives really helps you navigate what you need to do in life, right? And in terms of that navigation, it's not only the right decision to make, but also the mistakes to avoid, right? There's nothing worse than falling in the same holes that 20 other people have fallen in before. And that just takes a lot of time. And I think you would be silly to not speak to other individuals and just avoid those pitholes. So for me, that's where it's been really, really useful, speaking to a network of individuals that I speak to regularly. In fact, some of my mentors don't know that they're a mentor, if that makes sense, right? They're just someone that I know they've got expertise in this particular field, and I speak to them quite regularly, and we just have great conversations. And there's always a nugget of information that I'll take from that. And I suppose the other thing, because I work in the data and analytics space, a lot of what we do is building algorithmic models, if you like, that mimic some form of behavior. And that's how I got into the mentoring space and just started saying, well, does someone display a behavior or has done something that I would like to mimic? That's how I started having multiple conversations with individuals, because there were different things that I was getting from each one. So yeah, it's been incredibly useful, I would say, in every aspect of my life. And when I started to do it more intentionally, it shortcutted a lot of things that would have taken me much longer to discover by myself.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point. So mentors are everywhere. They just don't know that they're actually mentors. And if you can engage in more of the conversations, you get, as you say, more nuggets of knowledge. I think we had a conversation a while back. am I right in making the assumption that you actually have your own personal board of advisors?
I do, yes. I set myself up as an individual, but then I thought, okay, look, companies have boards of advisors. So they have people that they meet on a regular basis to help calibrate or steer them in specific directions, someone that you have to be accountable to. And I discovered very early on in my life that I'm a really great starter, but not a great completer finisher. So I love the excitement of the beginning, but then the execution, I found that perhaps that wasn't my strength, and I needed to work out, well, how do I fix that? And companies have to be accountable to shareholders. So I thought I'd create my own set that I have to be accountable to. And it works. It at least makes me, before the meeting, I'm squabbling away, making sure I'm getting all my tasks done that I promised that I would do. So yeah.
Brilliant. I think that's a great model, something we can all adopt. Excellent. Great. So we'll move on to the next question. And the next question is, you just hit the slide, please. I think we kind of touched on this. So in the interest of time, we can move to the next. Kind of touched on this one as well. So yes, I think looking at mentorship style, I always use the analogy that different comedians have a different style of telling comedy. You can't have Jimmy Carr doing Dave Chappelle comedy. It's not going to work. They need to be authentic and find their own style. And that's a great advantage of speaking to many different people. They won't tell you the same thing. And there's so much value in getting those different lenses and perspectives. So maybe we start with Lubna again.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. And, while I think Yumna early on, she was mentioning, selecting your mentor. And I think this is absolutely crucial, because each one of us has their own personality and our very own style. So I remember having, first sessions with mentors that were being very transactional, very square. I don't think that translates well into English, but that's a French expression. I'm the total opposite. Basically, for me, when you enter in a mentorship relationship, because it is a relationship, that's something you build over time, the most important thing is to have to feel that you are in a safe environment where you can open up, to feel that you can trust the mentor that is in front of you. And I think to do that, the first mentoring sessions with me are always, we'll deal about what you came for later. I want to know more about you first as an individual. And I think that's just my that would be, I'd say, my mentorship style. Before seeing the question, I've never thought about mentoring this way. And again, I think it's maybe growing in a large family that you also defined how I am. But for me, that's how I would define my style. Having an open conversation with someone you can open up to, someone you can trust, and have fun, really.
And that's great. And it's I think you make a really salient point that we're shaped by the experiences we have. Growing up in a family of 7 siblings, you have a very warm and empathetic and emotional style to mentorship. And I think that's great. I just want to pick up on another point you said about that safety. There's a study from Google that looked at the highest performing teams. And across all the highest performing teams, there was one factor that stood out, and that was psychological safety. Can I get things wrong? Can I say things that sound stupid? Can I put my hand up? Will people support me? Will they build on my ideas? So I think that's a really, really important point, giving people that safe space to be their authentic selves. Great, thank you for that. So let's move over to Gutje again in that order.
I think, I wouldn't say style, but it has to work for for both for you and especially for the mentee. So you're there to cover the mentee's needs, the person who you're talking to. So the first thing I would try to do is try to understand the needs, where they are and what they are trying to achieve with the session that you have with them. And the session that you provide or the process that you go into that person with can actually work as a different set of tools. I think there are different types of needs, and looking at the experiences I have, and if I just associate this with certain tools, you can act like a mirror. So you can be, your mentorship can act like a mirror to ask the right questions for them to reflect on their reality and understand where they are, and just try to organize their thoughts in a good way, because this actually happens when you're in a cornerstone in your life and you're trying to find out what is the right path to follow. And then asking the right questions to that person and just make sure that they reflect on themselves in an organized way and they find out their next path actually works. So one way of doing it is actually working as as a mirror. Then you can also act as a map. There comes your experience, because it can be applied when the mentee has a number of options out there that they need to think about which one to follow as a priority and which ones to focus on as a priority, and how to move on from the next. So what do I start with? What do I do next? And what do I do the one after? So because you might have an experience in that field or in that type of path in your life, if you have done yourself, then you can actually act like an open map and try to show them all the options they have and which ones can be prioritized when. Then your experience actually matters. Another part is actually being a hammer. It can be very particular to one type of topic. How do I make a marketing plan? How do I actually create a startup canvas? What should I consider choosing the right, partners? And what should I do with this next thing? And if you have, if you have such kind of experience in your background that you have tried and failed or tried and succeeded, then you can actually reflect on how you actually succeeded. Then you can actually give them be their hammer, or that exchange session can be act as like a hammer. And
I love this. So a mirror or a map or a hammer. It's having me reflecting on my style.
And the last thing can be a connector, because sometimes you need to open up your network to these people. You might not be the right person to answer to those questions sometimes, or you might not be able to boost that exchange would matter, but to be able to boost that mentee to the next level or whatever they are seeking, you can connect them with the right people, and you can actually help them navigate through those persons and the input that they can give. So then your actual network matters. So far, these are the things I try to see, which one and what it's sometimes multiple things at once, but I try to choose the right questions to be able to help out the mentee in the best possible way.
This is really helpful.
And last thing, what Mike said is very important, accountability. Setting the accountability is very much important for me too, both for myself and both for the mentees. So yes, for the hammer, you can do one session, but in a real mentorship journey, I would like to make sure that what we talked with that particular mentee about what he or she needs to achieve, I would like to make sure that in a month or two to see, okay, if she has done those things. So does that session then have a meaning? And then you can actually establish the accountability. I see it works for me, seemingly with Mike, and I think it should work. It should work for the mentees too. Accountability is very important.
Fantastic. I love this. I love this tool bag that you have. There's a mirror in there to see blind spots. There's a map to help people on their roadmap. There's a hammer when people just aren't listening. And then there's a connection device to get people into your network. I love this. I guess the other point we'll say is you're an MMA expert as well. So you can see Gotcha's videos online on MMA. Hopefully you never bring that style to your mentorship. Great. Thank you, Gotcha. And then the same question to Mike.
Yeah, I mean, how do you follow that? Thanks for making me laugh again, Carol, because then I've got to really try and be creative on this. But the only thing that comes to mind, though, is I'll follow on from what was a resonating theme from each of the mentees. And they said that it felt a little intimidating to begin with. And so I think being a mentor should, at least the style that I use, is to be a person first, right? So who are, like Lubna was saying, there's a bit more color to who we are, our relationships and how we exist, rather than just our professional profile. And for me, that was really important. I remember even when I first started my career right out of university, I joined Accenture. And I remember I used to look at, you join as an analyst, then you get to a consultant, then manager, and then a partner. And I'd look at the partners and I'd say, man, that's just a different level of it's not even human. Those guys, I can't wait till I can develop that sort of sense. And I remember after having a few drinks with someone, it's like, but they are just people, right? And when you look at that, it sort of demystifies that whole world. And it also makes all the advice accessible. It makes it real. It makes it something that you can do too. And so I think particularly now when we live in such a machine-driven world, we should put a lot more emphasis on just bringing out the bits that make us human and people, and therefore accessible. So.
Brilliant. I love this focus on humanity, and even CEOs use the toilet, right? We're all human at the end of the day. I love this. Great.
Yeah.
So some amazing insights there. I've learned a lot, and hopefully everybody has on the call. I think in the interest of time, what we're going to do is just open it up to the audience and let you ask some questions to the mentors and the mentees as well. So thank you everybody for all your insights today.
So as Carl's just said, for anyone that's got any questions, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask away. Or if not, then feel free to please drop any of your questions in the chat box and we'll be able to answer them.
I'll ask a question while we're waiting. For each of you, quickly, what is your biggest leadership lesson? Could be a failure, could be a success.
I think Mike should start.
This is the one that I was hoping. Let's see what everybody else says. I've just got it wrong all day today. So let's see. I think for me, it's there's two immediate things come to mind for me on that one. So the first one is that we never stop learning, right? And every conversation, every interaction is some sort of learning opportunity. I can't remember what the statement someone said is. It's not mistakes, it's a lesson, right? So we can't ever stop learning. Assuming that we know everything is the worst thing to do. And the next one is self-awareness, right? It's the same as a navigation system. If you don't know where you are, you have no idea the direction in which you need to go to get to the destination that you're after. And so spending some more time, just really genuinely understanding yourself, what makes you tick, you know, what excites you. There's a lot of career advice that tends to come through when you're speaking to a mentor and people are asking, you know, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? And if you don't really know what makes you tick, you don't have that degree of self-awareness, you tend to be going into things for the wrong reasons, you know, or making decisions for not perhaps the thing that will get you that ultimate satisfaction in the different areas that you're looking for. So I think self-awareness is a huge one, right, for me.
Brilliant. I love that. Otherwise, you're a rudderless ship. And I love this idea of you either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions, or should we continue to look at and gotcha?
We've got one quick question from Mia. So Mia's question is, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self with regards to finding advice and mentorship? Who would like to take that?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Yumna, go ahead.
A follow-up question for Mike before we jump on to a different topic. So Mike, you said, how can you, like, about the tech thing, like you need to know what takes for you. But I always hear leaders talking about passion. Find what you're passionate about, what takes you. But I always find a gap between having this tech. How can you know it when you haven't tried it out? And when a mentor asks you what takes for you or what you're passionate about, it's like, well, there's so much things, but you never know as a human, or at least I can speak for myself. I'm passionate about anything that I can see it has an impact, or I see my success in it, or I see its impact on the community. So how do you define something that takes to someone, or how do you expect someone to know it without actually trying different things?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. We learn through experience, and we learn through experimentation. I think you know, that is definitely an important way to learn. You can see it through the development of a child. They have to experience different things. The reason why we do that many lessons as a child and then we narrow down as we grow up is because we have to experience and take from it to try and find what makes us tick, you know. But it is a good question though, because you can do all of that and then get to the age of 18 just before you're picking your university degree and you're still like, I have no idea what I want to do, right? And I think that's why things like work experience are really key. My parents were really intentional about putting me in places and also meeting people of different careers, right? And then almost forcing us to ask questions that it became one of those things that every time someone was coming to the house, me and my brother and my sisters used to go write some things and say, what question have you got? What question have I got? Just so that we didn't look silly. But what it did help us do is it really exposed us to, if someone said they had were working in engineering, but like, what really is that work? Do you get what I mean? Right. And you always have to go a level deeper, because whatever it is we do is so surface level. There's something even further, and it's almost just keep going as to why, and you eventually get to that point that really makes your heart beat, you know. So that's on the spot answer. So thank you for that tough question.
Thank you. Sorry, Chirag, over to you.
No worries at all. Just in the interest of time, I'll probably do Mia's question, which was, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self with regards to finding advice and mentorship?
Yes, so Mia, I think that's a great question. And for me, you know, if I could look back, maybe not when I was 18, a bit later, but when looking for a mentor, you can start within your organization or association. You know, it doesn't need to be for in your organization you're working for. But I think for me, you know, I wish someone told me to aim high. You know, Gökçe mentioned that he had those conversations with the VP, and I can tell you that it takes a lot of courage to go and ask your VP for an informal conversation or a mentorship session. So I think, you know, I hope someone had told me that before, because actually they are always very happy to help. If they can't help on the long term, they will have a coaching one session with you. And if they can't even commit to that, they will introduce you to someone at an exec level to help you in your own journey. So that would be one element. And then the other thing, and I think, Gökçe, you also touched on that earlier on as well, is don't limit yourself to one mentor. Each mentor will bring you a specific area of expertise, you know, a set of emotion, and I think it's really important not to stop us. Okay, I have a mentor, I can relax. You know, you should have at least 2 or 3 mentors at all times, so because they will all serve a different purpose in your life. So you know, I'll stop here, and hopefully that helps me. Yeah.
That's great. And I think Gökçe was very successful with getting the VP to answer, because he pulled out that hammer from his tool bag. Great. So I know we're at the hour now. Hopefully some people can run over. I know some people need to get back to work. To the mentors and mentees, are you okay to take some more questions if we have any more coming in? Maybe another 5-10 minutes. I think we've got some good questions. So do we have any more questions coming in, Chirag?
Yeah, we've got loads, absolutely. So let's go to Theo, who's put his hand up. So Theo, take the stage, please.
Hi, I just had a question wondering, how do you go about balancing career progression and perhaps what you're more passionate about? So I'm really passionate in like tech and marketing, but when looking for roles, I've seen there's such a broad range. So how do you go about balancing what looks like the best career to go down and then what you're most passionate about?
Which one of our mentors would like to take that one?
Any, I guess everyone has a bit of a different experience. So.
I think it's very important to.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's very important to link it with your interests. I mean, what you're really interested about, and then you need to maybe think about the core. What do you enjoy doing? Because I mean, I'm very curious and I like exploring things. And you know, for me, I like numbers too. And then for me, I found out that okay, I like numbers, and I was interested in trying to create a relationship between the facts I see in the world, and then that got me where I am. So technology and marketing are 2 good things. One of them actually is, you know, thinking about, you know, you're talking about the communication to an audience where you need to care which audience you're talking to and understand what kind of messages you need to give to which kind of audiences. So you need to actually have a very strong sense of empathy to, you know, because you need to understand the audience very well and pick out the, you know, messages in a good way. And then using the technology to do it, it's actually shows that you have linear inclination of using any kind of new tools out there. So you need to be curious and, you know, you need to explore what is out there. And in the end of the day, when you think about yourself, what you enjoy doing, and in your personal life too, what you are successful with, understanding those concepts out there and those options out there, which of your interests resonates with what you are going to do to be able to successfully execute those areas. Creating that link can help you choose which is the right path to go. Because in the end of the day, you should do what you do because you like it and you feel you can develop and learn in it. And that's why it's very important that you have to link it with your personal traits, personal interests, and personal which things which gives you joy. That will be my short answer. And then the next thing on, you can think about the techniques, and you can always find out new ways of how, or different ways of how to do it by maybe find through mentorship. The mentors can help you, or you can actually learn yourself. Look out the tools out there. Google and YouTube is just amazing, full of these kind of resources. You can actually ask the right questions to Google and YouTube, and it will bring you out the right answers, because this is a very important question you're asking, how to choose the right path.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It reminds me of a quote, and it's from Simon Sinek, and he says, when you work hard and it's just a profession, you feel stressed. I'm working so hard, I'm stressed out. But when you work hard and you find your passion, it's purpose. You care about it. You want to bring your whole self to it. So I don't think they're necessarily dichotomous. I don't think it's either your profession or either your passion. I think within our profession, we can still find passion. You can find opportunities to give back, to find passionate components within whatever profession you take. So with that mindset, it opens up a lot more opportunities, right? You can still follow your profession, but when you follow your profession, where's your purpose within that? How do you find the passionate components of what you're doing? Maybe it's not directly in your career and the track that you're doing and the work you're doing, but maybe you can mentor. Maybe you can join some of the internal groups, nonprofit groups within your organization. Maybe you can join some of the diversity organizations they have in large organizations. So don't feel that they're one or the other. They're mutually exclusive. They can intersect.
Can I add to that as well? I really like this question, because I think what it shows is what I mentioned to you, Yumna, and that a lot of the words that we use, or the subject areas, are quite high level and very surface level, right? So marketing, technology. But when you start digging a little deeper in that, you find that actually the key and the core components of all of those things exist in whatever profession it is that you're doing. There's hardly a profession that doesn't use some form of technology, right? And there's hardly a profession that doesn't put you in a position where you have to very clearly tell the story, and very articulate that. That's marketing to some extent, and that's technology. But when you go down to those core things, you find that those things exist everywhere. I was talking to someone earlier this morning, and I was telling her a story about when I met a nurse who was trying to get in the world of data, and she said, I have no experience in the world of data. And through the conversation, it became very clear that actually she works with information on a regular basis that has to make some really key decisions that impact the livelihood of patients, right? And so she's an analyst, effectively. She's worked with data extensively. Do you get what I'm saying? That if you go deeper into each of the things, you find the core components that apply everywhere in whatever profession, right?
And she's a mentor. She doesn't even know it. To Mike.
And just to add this for you, Theo, I always had this question since I was at uni and since I graduated. I think mentoring helps a lot because it makes you question things. So I had an Excel sheet. I went to a mentor. I had an Excel sheet that has different categories, and they were asking me questions. And then I used to go away asking these questions, because if you do it by yourself, sometimes it's very overwhelming and there's always what if. But doing it with a mentor and then going away, finishing the task, coming back and telling them, hey, this is what I did. So I think mentoring and dividing this different thing to dig deeper into that, a mentor will ask you the right question to help you with that. And this is what I exactly did. And I figured out they're not different things. They're actually similar. It's just a matter of who or what you're going to join that will enable this to be applied to your career path. So that's my advice for you to do in the upcoming days. But yeah.
Sorry, there's a question there from Kilroy. James, can we treat that question, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kelroy's question is, what are your goals for the program? is it aimed solely at graduates or also professionals? Carl, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that. Good question. I think at this stage where we are, where we're still developing, we don't want to be reductive. So we don't want to be exclusive. The whole purpose of what we're doing is to build inclusivity. So we want to make it open to everybody. And I think we'll all learn from each other. There will be graduates that have a different perspective to young professionals, etc. So my message would be sure to any young professionals or graduate who think could benefit from that. I don't think we need to be too prescriptive up front, and over time, maybe we need to separate it into different tracks. But where we are now, we're just a group of people sharing knowledge, sharing information, learning from each other, and we don't want to exclude anybody.
Yeah, just to add up to what Carl just said there, we also provide coaching sections for startup as well. So if you're at a beginning stage of your business idea, you're just thinking about it, you want to scale up, whatever stage you are, the important thing for BLIX, and I think I really want to emphasize is that between our mentors, they have years of experience in different scenarios or in different environments, either it's startups, scale-up companies, whether it's big tech, whether it's small tech, whether it's small businesses, whether it's developing softwares, whether it's selling anything like clothes, makeup, whatever the case is, our mentors are very diverse. So it's not a case that we are channeled towards a particular group of people and leaving out the rest. It could just be someone who just has a business idea and you want to pass it, onto someone to think about it. Or what do you think? Do you think there's a market for this or there isn't? What advice do you have? So we are not very strict as to whether it's just graduate or professional. It could be just you want a quick advice. You could quickly jump on a call for 30 minutes. So it's long-term, short-term. There's no restriction. That's one question. There's a question from someone that says, this is a non-profit. How do you get finances, right? For us, I think it's still going to remain free, right, Carol, if I'm right?
Yes, I don't see any reason why that would ever change.
Yeah, so it's going to be free. So the thing is, our mentors, they've decided to give a certain amount of time, either it's 30 minutes to 1 hour, and you literally go to a mentor's profile, read through their experience, feel, oh, this is someone I can relate to, this is someone I can connect with, I can ask a couple of questions in a certain area, you book the section, and that's that. So that's a good thing with technology, that you can provide certain services for free. So this is one thing we appreciate our BLIX mentors about. So it's gonna be free, it's gonna remain free.
Yeah, so we're a group of volunteers who give our time and give our energy to make this work. We don't want to go down the route of being sponsored or being for profit, because that just really jars with what we're trying to do. In terms of how we finance it today, it's not super expensive to run the website and to pay for the Zoom licenses. I do that personally because this is important for me. Maybe an opportunity further down the line where we can get donations from maybe members, but so far we don't need to do that, which is great. So we don't see that changing.
Thank you, Carl. I think that's all the questions we have for today. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. Really inspiring talks from all the mentors and mentees, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
And just before we close off, I'm just going to share links to what's to come in the chat box right now and how everyone can connect with us once the session is over. So give me just 2 seconds.
And as maybe we can take a second now at the end with who is still here to see what's coming next. So first off, we're gonna have an event coming soon on the 15th of April. It's gonna be about the power of profile, and the speaker is gonna be an international motivational speaker, Vanessa Valeli. So the tickets are already open on our website, and it's one of the links that Chirag on our team is putting on the chat box right now. So don't hesitate to take it in advance. I'm sure it's gonna be very insightful, and building a profile is very useful now in our society. So I'm sure everyone can get something good out of it. Also, we have a concept called BLIX Bites, which are small sneak peeks of lessons on business, leadership, and inclusion. And this is a format that we're soon going to start releasing on a weekly basis on our social media, especially on LinkedIn. So also don't hesitate to follow us on there. And finally, on light of today's session about mentoring matters, don't hesitate to now go on the website, learn more about each advisor, look for their profile, and if anyone interests you, don't hesitate to take your first session, second, fifth, and we hope that you're gonna develop your skills and do mentorship with us. So thank you very much for being here.
And the final thank you to Maria, Edema, Shirag and Jamelia for working tirelessly to make this happen. You guys are superstars, so keep up the great work. Okay, take care. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Have a great day.